Harry stopped correcting the story. The headlines kept getting louder, the accusations sharper, but he didn't fight back. No interviews, no denials, no anger. And that wasn't strength, it was containment, because there were things he couldn't say yet, things that would have made everything worse if they came out too early. Now, that silence is cracking, and what was being held back changes the entire timeline. Let's dive in. According to Radar Online, Harry's private medical information leaked. Not general health concerns, not vague rumors, specific medications he was allegedly taking for hair loss, finasteride, minoxidil, the kind of treatments that come with side effects no one wants discussed in tabloid headlines. And this wasn't some random hack or careless slip. Sources claim the details were too precise, too intimate to have come from anywhere but inside his own circle. Someone close enough to know what sat in his bathroom cabinet, close enough to understand exactly how humiliating this would be. For most people, that's just gossip. For Harry, it was strategic, because those medications allegedly carry warnings about mood changes, emotional shifts, and yes, performance issues that strike at the core of masculine pride. The internet didn't just learn about his hair loss concerns, they learned about his vulnerabilities in the most invasive way possible. Insiders say Harry felt blindsided, not by the leak itself, but by who they believe was behind it. Because when something that private goes public with that level of detail, it's not an accident, it's a message. But the medication story was just the opening move. Here's what made it worse. The leak didn't just expose Harry, it reframed him. Sources close to the situation claim that whispers began circulating long before the story broke, subtle suggestions to mutual friends that Harry had changed, that he'd become distant, emotionally unavailable, that the intimacy in their marriage had faded, and it was because of him. The groundwork was allegedly being laid for months. Small comments, passing observations, nothing dramatic enough to raise alarms, but specific enough to plant seeds of doubt. So when the medication details finally surfaced, it didn't feel random. It felt like confirmation of a narrative that had already been quietly building. Insiders claim this is where Harry started to realize something unsettling. The woman he trusted with everything allegedly knew exactly how to use his secrets as leverage, not through confrontation, not through threats, but through perfectly timed revelations that made him look weak while she remained composed, misunderstood, and sympathetic. For Harry, it was a devastating pattern to recognize. Every private moment he'd shared, every vulnerability he'd exposed was potentially being cataloged, not for intimacy, for insurance. But what happened behind closed doors was even more complicated. People watching from the outside saw a couple who'd escaped to California for freedom. What they didn't see was how cold that freedom had allegedly become. Sources say after their second child arrived, something shifted. The house that was supposed to represent their new life together started feeling more like a standoff. The warmth that once defined their relationship allegedly evaporated into something distant and transactional. Date nights stopped. Laughter disappeared. The couple that once seemed magnetically connected now moved through their home like strangers sharing expensive real estate. Insiders claim Harry tried everything to bring back what they once had. He adjusted his schedule, he prioritized her projects, he waited for the spark to return. It never did. According to people close to the situation, Meghan had already emotionally moved on. She allegedly poured herself into image-focused ventures, anything that kept her public presence polished and her narrative controlled. Harry, meanwhile, felt rejected in his own marriage, not through dramatic fights or explosive arguments, but through the kind of quiet withdrawal that slowly suffocates connection. Friends say he didn't realize how far things had deteriorated until it was too late. He thought they were going through a rough patch. She was allegedly already planning the exit. But the cracks went deeper than anyone outside those walls understood. Living in Los Angeles brought new pressures Harry hadn't anticipated. He'd left behind the royal family, the protocols, the expectations. What he didn't leave behind was the scrutiny. Sources claim Harry became increasingly self-conscious about his appearance, particularly his thinning hair. In a city surrounded by what insiders call the beautiful people, every photograph, every public appearance felt like a judgment. He allegedly started comparing himself to his brother William, whose baldness he'd once joked about in his own memoir. Now, the joke was on him. Recent photos showed an expanding bald spot across his crown, and Harry allegedly felt it chipping away at his confidence daily. Friends say he became obsessive about treatments. The medications he was taking were allegedly a gamble, trading potential side effects for the hope of preserving his appearance. One insider claimed Harry knew the risks, but felt trapped. The pills kept the hair loss at bay, but every dose came with warnings. Warnings about impotence, mood swings, and emotional instability. People close to him allegedly joked he was gambling with his manhood for vanity's sake, and Harry's response was chilling. He reportedly said the impotence risk didn't matter much, but the revelations didn't stop at medical treatments. What came next went beyond personal humiliation into territory that rattled Harry to his core. According to insiders, there were rumors, whispered carefully and never fully confirmed, rumors that raised questions about the very foundation of their family. Sources claimed that Meghan never carried the children herself. Allegations surfaced, quietly and cautiously, suggesting the use of surrogates. No concrete evidence was provided, no medical professional went on record, but the whisper alone was enough to send shockwaves through circles that understood what this could mean. Because in royal tradition, lineage isn't just family history, it's law, it's identity, it's the foundation of everything. For Harry, sources say, this was the rumor that shattered his sense of reality. A man who'd vowed to give his children the childhood he never had was allegedly confronting the possibility that fundamental parts of his own story had been hidden from him. Whether true or not, the allegation itself created a fracture he couldn't ignore. Insiders claim Meghan could spin it as privacy, health concerns, or personal choice, but for Harry, it allegedly represented one more layer of control he hadn't seen coming, one more secret he hadn't been fully trusted with. But even that wasn't the full picture. This is where the story takes its darkest turn, and it's the part insiders speak about in lowered voices because of what it allegedly reveals about power, control, and strategic thinking. According to multiple sources, Meghan didn't just keep text messages or emails from their relationship. She allegedly kept footage, video clips recorded during their most private moments, some innocent, others deeply compromising. Harry passed out after nights he'd rather forget. Harry stumbling through parties. Harry allegedly using substances during times when the public believed he was healing and moving forward. Even intimate videos that were never meant to exist outside their relationship. And the most disturbing detail, according to insiders, she allegedly showed some of these clips to select friends, not to ask for help, not to seek advice, but to prove a point. To demonstrate exactly how much leverage she held. Sources say this wasn't shouting or threats. It was a quiet flex, a reminder that she had a private library of a prince's worst moments stored away, ready to surface if needed. For Harry, this allegedly transformed their relationship into something terrifying. Every argument, every cold moment in the house came with the knowledge that another clip could hit the press at any time. He reportedly had no idea how many videos existed or what they contained. He just knew they were there, waiting. But the worst part wasn't the footage itself. Harry finally understood what had been happening all along. This wasn't a marriage falling apart, it was allegedly a controlled demolition. Looking back, sources say the pattern becomes painfully clear. The wedding wasn't just about love, it was a global platform. The honeymoon wasn't just romantic, it allegedly came with Meghan telling friends Harry was too clingy, emotionally intense, already setting the stage for future distance. After the children arrived, the house went cold, not through fights, but through strategic withdrawal. Harry kept trying to fix what was breaking. She was allegedly already planning her narrative for when it ended. Then came the leaks, the medication story, the hair loss details. Each one timed perfectly to shift public perception. Harry became the one struggling, the one changing, the one failing to meet expectations. She remained composed, misunderstood, sympathetic. Insiders claim Harry finally realized he'd been losing the war before he even knew there was a battle. The woman he'd trusted with everything allegedly understood something he didn't. Whoever controls the story wins. And she'd been controlling it from the beginning. Every secret he'd shared wasn't intimacy, it was ammunition. Every vulnerable moment wasn't trust, it was leverage waiting to be deployed. But even knowing all this, Harry couldn't escape one final truth. Sources say Meghan operates by one unshakable rule. She doesn't get left, she leaves. And according to insiders, her exit was allegedly being planned long before Harry noticed the cracks. While Harry was trying to save their marriage, she was reportedly securing her position, building her independent brand, curating her public image, ensuring that when the split finally came, the narrative would already be set. Harry would be the troubled prince who couldn't handle freedom. She would be the resilient woman who tried everything to make it work. The medication leaks supported that story. The whispers about his changing behavior reinforced it. Even the alleged videos served as insurance if he ever tried to challenge her version of events. Friends close to Harry say he feels trapped in a battle he's already lost. Because even without a crown, even without royal titles, some people allegedly understand power better than others. And in this relationship, sources claim Meghan held all the cards from the start. She knew his secrets, she framed his struggles, she allegedly documented his lowest moments, and through it all, she maintained the image of a woman fighting to save a marriage that, according to insiders, she'd emotionally exited long ago. But the final devastation was personal. Harry left the throne for love. He walked away from castles, from protocol, from centuries of tradition, because he believed he'd finally found someone who saw him as just a man, not a title. And now, according to sources, he's watching that same person allegedly use everything he trusted her with as weapons in a war he didn't know they were fighting. His privacy became headlines, his vulnerabilities became punchlines, his most intimate moments allegedly became leverage in someone else's exit strategy. Insiders say Harry now understands that even without a crown, some battles are fought with information, timing, and narrative control. And in this version of events, he brought vulnerability to a fight where his opponent brought receipts. The prince who ran from the palace to build a new life watched that life collapse beneath him. And the woman who stood beside him through it all walked away with her narrative intact. This wasn't just a marriage ending, it was allegedly a masterclass in control. Because the person who tells the story first, tells it loudest, and holds the most damaging evidence, doesn't just win the breakup, they rewrite history itself. And Harry? He's finally breaking his silence, not because he wants to, but because staying quiet cost him everything he thought silence was supposed to protect.